Welcome to the Love Lab Podcast, a safe place to get real about sex. Whether you're a man, woman, single, or couple, this is the show for you.
We are your hosts, Kevin Anthony and Céline Remy, and we are here to guide you to go from good to amazing in the bedroom and beyond.
All right, welcome back to the Love Lab Podcast. This is episode 163 and it's titled, Are You Addicted to Ejaculation? And we're not just asking that question to the men, but also to the women. So we are going to be talking, obviously, about ejaculation, but also about how both men and women can get addicted, one, to having an ejaculation, and two, to facilitating an ejaculation, and what that really means and why that might not be a good thing.
Ooh, I can't wait to dive into it. So whether you're a man or a woman, stay tuned because you are probably going to learn some good stuff about ejaculation and new ways to take your sex life to the next level. So before we get started, let's give a big shout out to our sponsors, Power and Mastery. Do you want to join the secret club of men who are great in bed? Then check out Power and Mastery at powerandmastery.com. It is the most complete sexual mastery training, whether you want to have harder erections, last longer, or increase your sexual skills. There is something for you at powerandmastery.com.
By the time we finish this episode, you will want to be part of that club. I can almost guarantee it.
So let's start with the problem when it comes to ejaculation. So most people, they're like, problem, ejaculation? What are you talking about? It's great and awesome, and there's nothing better in this whole world. Well, here's the thing. The problem is that men have associated orgasms and ejaculation as a combo that comes together, and they use it to release tension and never learn to harness the power of their ejaculation. So the scenario usually goes as he has sex, wants to focus on the ejaculation as fast as possible, ejaculates and rolls over and falls asleep.
Yeah, and I would say it's not so much that they associate ejaculation and orgasm as being the same thing. They don't know that there is even a difference. It's not even like they're lumping them together going, yeah, you always do both at the same time. They don't actually know that there is a difference. They think that they're the same thing, and they're not.
Ooh, can't wait to dive more into that. Now, when it comes to women, and I think it's a good thing that I'm the one talking about this right now, is that unfortunately for many women, they link their self-worth in their ability to make him come. And often they will feel like insulted or let down if he doesn't come. They make it their mission to make him come. If something doesn't function the way it usually does, the first place they go into is what's wrong with me? What did I do wrong? I'm not pretty enough. He's not attracted to me. Did he cheat? Like whatever crazy thoughts that goes on, most of the time it will be tied to their self-worth. And most women expect arousal and ejaculation as the end goal.
Yeah, this is a crazy one that I still shake my head going, I don't understand how they don't get it part, but it's a crazy one because yes, a lot of women tie their self-worth in the bedroom to whether or not they can make a guy come. And so a lot of them try real hard to make that happen. But then they make the guy come too soon, and then they're disappointed and not happy with the quality of their sex life. And sometimes I just want to shake my head going, hey, don't you get it? And here's the thing. A lot of them really don't. I mean, I had a girlfriend years ago who, I was sort of priding myself on being this tantric person and I could last as long as I wanted. And the first time we had sex, it didn't last that long. It wasn't super fast, but it wasn't that long. And I felt like I was struggling the entire time to hold back my ejaculation. And so after that, we talked about it. And I said, wow, that was kind of weird because I was like, we're having a really hard time. And she said, oh, don't worry about it. She's like, every boyfriend I ever had, comes really fast. And that's when the light bulb went off. And I went, oh, I know exactly what's happening here.
So now would be a good time to explain the principle from the masculine. As a masculine, the principle is basically that the energy comes out, shoots out, no pun intended. Actually, pun intended. Well, for the feminine, the energy, she draws the energy in. Now, why is this important? It is important because when it comes to the bedroom, men in their nature will want to expose things out. If they're not careful, they will come very quickly. And that's kind of like their nature here. A woman, she draws things into, like pulls things towards her. And so if she's not aware that she does that, she will then pull on the man. And by pulling, it's an energetic experience, but it's very tied to the story that Kevin just explained.
When and very real.
He could feel like he had to hold down a lot while making love to her, like because she was energetically pulling. And I tell a lot of my clients when we work one-on-one that if she's decided that you're coming, there's nothing you can do.
That's actually true. Even if you're really, really good at it, if she really wants to make you come, she can. But isn't nature amazing, right? So as men, we want to give things out. Mm-hmm. And as women, they want to take things in. It's almost like it was designed that way. How interesting, how amazing.
Where are your sound effects, Kevin, when you need them?
I know, I need to I was not happy with the sound effect generator. It was not reliable enough, and it caused me too much of a pain in post editing. So I have not been using it, but I do want to find a better one. If anybody out there has any ideas of, good sound effects that I can put directly into the board, that would be amazing.
Email us directly, support@thelovelabpodcast.com. We'll be eternally grateful.
Yes.
Okay, back to our ejaculation, right? The problem here is that both men and women, in a traditional way, it is all goal-oriented. It's focused on the destination. And that model of lovemaking is not sustainable in the long term because she will eventually get bored with that style of lovemaking and not feel fulfilled. And he will eventually get really tired and not be able to stand up for the occasion.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about this a lot on the show, that it's not about the destination of reaching an orgasm for him or for her. And then if you truly want to have mind-blowing,
out of this world,
life-altering sex, you've just got to let go of that. You just do, because that's where the magic happens, is when you let go of that agenda, that goal.
And it's a tough one because for most people, when we work with clients and we teach couples to not so much focus on whether he comes, she comes, but more on the quality of the lovemaking, a lot of people kind of look at us about like with big deer in headlights, like eyes, and are wondering, well, if that's not the end goal, then what is? Like, why would I do that?
Right. And that's actually the question that comes up is why would you want to do that? And it's hard to explain to people because the reality is you don't know what you don't know. In other words, if you've never experienced it, you have no idea what you're missing out on. So you sit there from your limited perspective and you go, why in the world would you want to do that? If you are ever lucky enough to experience it, then the light bulb goes off and you go, oh, now I get it, right? So what's interesting about that is that because they don't know what they don't know, they think that orgasm is the best thing that they can achieve. So of course, why wouldn't they want to do that? And hence they can become addicted to that orgasm. And there's a couple of ways. We're going to quote some David Data work here in a moment, but there's a couple of ways or such reasons why men become addicted to their ejaculation.
So this information comes from David Data, and if you haven't read his work, he has some very controversial work. His book is The Way of the Superior Man, is kind of like one of the first book he wrote like 20 plus years ago, and it still is in print.
That book, honestly, because I read it years ago, and then I went back and read it again just I don't know, 2 years ago or something like that. And I have to say, that book has stood the test of time. It really has. I know it, given today's culture and everything they're saying about men and masculinity and, non-binary, this, that, and the other thing, it's contrary to almost everything you're seeing out there today. But if you're really honest with yourself and you really read that book with an open mind, you'll realize it's just as relevant today as it was 20 years ago.
Yeah. So what he did and so check out his work if you haven't yet, but otherwise we'll give you here the 3 ways that a man can become addicted to ejaculation. So the first way is due to evolution. In short, without ejaculation, you would have no babies, you have no descendant, like your future, you can't continue the lineage and all of that.
This is way more powerful than you realize. Here's the thing, Céline just kind of flung it out there like, well, evolution, because if you didn't ejaculate, you didn't have any kids. And, there's probably a few people rolling their eyes going, oh, please, here we go again. But there are whole books written by extremely well-known and well-credentialed PhDs studying human evolution and sexuality. And the drive to procreate is massive. Whether you feel it or not, it is programmed into the very DNA that makes you who you are. It is not something to just brush off and go, yeah, whatever. That's just programming stuff. Like, yeah, it is programming, the deepest level of programming that exists.
It's very ancient stuff. Well, and some of the things too is that with evolution, there was a time when humans probably didn't have as much comfort and safety and security. Of course, not everybody in the world has a lifestyle that we have here, and poverty still exists and all of that. But let's face it, like maybe thousands of years ago, let's say you're making love and then there's a physical threat. I mean, one of the example people give all the time is like, a tiger, that's you're making love and there's a tiger nearby. The first thing that happens is when there's that threat, that stress, is that your body goes ejaculation, because you got to finish what you're doing and you got to be able to focus your energy on saving yourself and your family and all of that. Now, while we may not have to face tigers, like animal tigers, people in their daily life experience just as much, if not more, I believe actually more stress than their ancestor. And our brain doesn't know the difference between real and like imagined stress, between real, like by real meaning like
real stress meaning the tiger's about to eat you,
yes,
and the other stress meaning like, you have a deadline at work or something like that, right?
Or somebody cut you off while driving.
Right, like an arbitrary man-made stress thing that really has nothing to do with life or death or survival at all.
Yeah, but the results in the body are the same, that when there's so much stress, there's a need to release that tension. Tension in the body equals ejaculation. So this is why this is reason number 1 that you might be addicted to ejaculation, because of your programming, because you haven't yet bypassed the need to procreate, the need to just be a Cro-Magnon. Is that how you say that in English? You're a caveman?
Cro-Magnon.
Okay.
Cro-Magnon man. All right. Number 2 on Data's list is early sexual experience. So you basically have to do it quickly before you get caught. But I'm going to add to this because we do think of it in terms, and this is where it starts, right? You're a young boy, you learn how to masturbate. You're like, oh, this is cool. The whole world is telling you masturbation is no good. Maybe they get slightly different messaging these days, but trust me, when I was growing up, it was like hair was going to grow on your palms. You were going to be banished to hell forever, like all that kind of stuff. But you did it anyway, right? Because you couldn't not do it. The hormones were driving you. Stuff was happening.
Evolution was driving you, Kevin.
Right. So you did it anyway, but you had to like hide in the bathroom or someplace or worry about getting caught. So you just basically did it fast and you trained yourself to ejaculate as quickly as possible. Now, here's the thing. I think that this is also true for a lot of adult men, especially they're in a relationship. They're not being fulfilled sexually for numerous reasons. They're using porn. That's often a way of training yourself to ejaculate too quick because the porn is overly stimulating. I mean, let's be honest. How many guys get through more than 10 minutes of porn before they rub one out, right? Like, not too many. Actually, the statistics show that, by the way. If you dive into the stats, like Pornhub publishes their stats. We've talked about it on the show a few times. If you dive into that, you realize they only watch for a few minutes. Why is that? Because they watch, they get super turned on, they masturbate, they ejaculate. Now they're no longer turned on, they turn it off. But the point is that, whether it starts when you're a kid and or continues into adulthood, you are literally training yourself to ejaculate quickly.
Yeah, and the habits, you still basically behaving like a teenager in your sexuality. So again, we've coming back full circle with, are you addicted to ejaculation? Meaning, are you still having the kind of sex you had when you started to play with your penis and discover sex? And if yet, yes, you haven't yet stepped into the new level of what could be achieved, which we'll talk about in a few minutes.
Well, so that's basically number 3.
Well, number 3 is a little bit different. The third way is that most people nowadays have improper life habits. So bad diet, bad posture, poor breathing, very lack of sleep. I mean, so many things. And what that does is that people are stressed. So stressed that they become anxious, fidgety. And the only way to feel better is to rub one out at night, because you like can't really sleep, tossing. Like if you're just going to do this, then you're going to fall asleep. And also this lifestyle of poor diet, poor breathing, poor posture, all of that creates a lot of stress in the body, and the body just can't thrive really. So you just end up feeling more tense. There's all these patterns, and that's one of the reasons too.
Yeah, so there you go. According to David Data, those are the sort of top 3 reasons why men can become addicted to ejaculation. And the reality is ejaculation is fun. It feels good. And a lot of people in this world are always after the sort of quick fix, right? The short-term gain. So it's really easy to be like, I'm just going to, masturbate for 5 minutes, ejaculate, then move on with my day. As is often the case, when you only focus on the short-term gains, you miss out on the long-term gains. The long-term gains are generally significantly larger than the short-term gains.
Larger. Sorry.
Larger, stronger.
Just had to get there. Well, I love to
last longer.
I do love that you brought up the whole that, ejaculation is fun and is good. And in no way do we say that you shouldn't ejaculate. But what you need to do is to learn to practice moving the energy. Otherwise, it will accumulate in your body and cause you to feel tensed and just not as good. And we also want to address quickly, because we've done a whole show on NoFap, but we want to talk about NoFap and semen retention quickly, because some people then they start to understand about the ejaculation. Maybe you shouldn't ejaculate every single time. And then they'll be like, that's it. I'm never doing it. I'm going to go 3 years without coming, or my whole life now without coming. And I'm laughing, but we've met people like this who went for years without ejaculating, and we're proud of that. And that's not what we recommend that you do. And that could be one of the pitfalls when you go too far on one end of the spectrum, you go to the other end. And it's essential that you learn the skills of moving energy in the body, and NoFap and semen retention usually don't really focus on that.
Yeah, and we did talk about this on the show that we did on NoFap and semen retention and all that, but I do believe at this point in my life that practicing semen retention for long periods of time is actually harmful to your prostate. We don't need to go into it here and go into the details of how or why. You go back and listen to the previous show that we did, but I don't think that that is actually healthy for you. And I know people are going to, it's probably somebody listening right now who's like, oh, it's bullshit. Blah, blah. I know that there are people that disagree with me there, but there is some data and science behind the buildup of toxins from not flushing the prostate and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, yeah, I would say avoid NoFap and semen retention. Now, NoFap, if you have a real problem, if you're addicted to masturbation, like, you're in your 40s and you're still masturbating 3 times a day, every day, maybe something like NoFap might help you for a while to break the habit. So it's not all bad, but I don't think it's really a way of life. It's not long term. It's like keto diet, everybody wants to, I'm going to go on keto diet, right? And then like 6 months later, like, why am I miserable? Because keto is never designed to be a permanent diet. Keto is a diet designed to help you achieve a specific goal for a short period of time. And then you're supposed to go back to eating like a normal human. Sorry for all you keto fans out there, but it's true.
Yeah, why don't you give our listeners, you have a special invite for all the men listening. And if they want to learn how to get better at their control of their ejaculation, you can help them.
That is correct. And I can help them with a great many other things. So, hey guys, do you know what makes a man great? You know, the kind of masculine man that women are irresistibly attracted to and want. Is it money, job title, his body? Is it because he's great in bed or has a big penis? He has great pickup lines. But what if you don't have those? Or maybe you only have some of them. What if you've had a string of failed relationships, are embarrassed by your bedroom skills, doubt whether you can rise to the occasion, worry about lasting long enough, or are always stuck in the friend zone? I can help you. If you are ready to make big changes and finally become the man you have always wanted to be, then this is the program for you. To find out more, please go to CelineRemy.com/go/warrior. If you really want to learn any of the stuff that we talk about here, separating orgasm from ejaculation, becoming a sexual master, lasting longer, how to achieve and maintain erections, how to be a real man in relationship, the kind of man that women just absolutely crave, even though they don't necessarily know it all the time, then you need to go to CelineRemy.com/go/warrior and book a strategy call with me, because I can help you be all of those things.
So how do you know when to ejaculate? Now that we've talked about some of the problems, the ways that you can be addicted to ejaculation, talking about the idea of not ejaculating every single time. So now where do you go from there? How do you know when to ejaculate? And that's usually where people freak out. They're like, I don't know, like, how do I know that? So now that you understand that your ejaculation and orgasms are two different things, no ejaculation doesn't mean you won't have an orgasm. You can learn to separate that. You can work with Kevin to learn how to do that. You can go to our online courses. We can help you with that. Okay, moving on. You've got that one. Now you need to choose. Sometimes you will have a sexual intercourse, whether with yourself or with sexual activity, ever with a partner or without a partner, and you want to ejaculate every single time. So the way that people can tell what is their natural is to decide that, okay, you're going to start to have a sexual activity every single day without ejaculation. There will be a day when that day you're like, today is a day I need to come. Like, not from your head, but from your body, or your body's like, yeah, I need to have a good ejaculation. So let's say maybe it was 4, 5, 6 days in. What that means is that your body, it naturally kind of likes to ejaculate about every 4 or 5 or 6 days well, it's not days, sorry, six.
Yeah, it could be.
Well, because you're not always having sex every day, but every 4, 5, 6 times you have sex, meaning that your natural is this. Maybe if it's 3 days, then that would be every 3 times you have sex. And it doesn't have to be so dogmatic. That's what it is, right?
It's the 5th time. And by the way, sex means we're talking about masturbation practice, or you got a blowjob, or you actually had intercourse with your partner, like sexual activity where you actually used your penis. So yeah, I mean, for me, I basically generally assume that I'm not going to ejaculate. I just kind of like, whether it's masturbation or lovemaking or blowjob Thursday or whatever, I basically assume that I'm not going to ejaculate. But then sometimes I'm just like, I just really feel like ejaculating today, and so I will. The point though is if you're trying to train yourself, you have to train the way you want to be more often than not. So in other words, if you're training to make yourself last longer, let's say you trained 5 days in a row. And 4 of those 5 days, you actually ejaculated early. And then on one of those days, you actually held it long. Well, what are you really training yourself to do at that point? Well, ejaculate early. So the idea here is that you need to not ejaculate more often than you ejaculate if you want to train yourself to be able to not ejaculate. I mean, it's kind of common sense, I would think.
Well, I also want to bring out the point that you mentioned earlier, that ejaculation feels good, is good for the body. Like a good ejaculation liberates the energy in the body. It frees you up, like makes you like so much lighter and supercharged when it's a good ejaculation. And when it's a intentional ejaculation instead of a default response.
Yeah. And, we really have to talk about the energetic difference between ejaculating quickly and taking the time to build the energy. That's really important. I've had this conversation with so many people, and I've had this conversation about ejaculation with a bunch of other professionals in the field. Some of them get it and some of them don't. Some of them will tell you, it's no big deal at all. You can ejaculate every day and it's fine. I'm in my 50s and I ejaculate every single day and I just see no reduction in energy or anything. Well, first of all, if you ejaculate every single day, no matter how much energy you're building up, you will actually be depleting your body of energy. Don't listen to what any of the other yahoos out there say. It's true. But how depleted you are is definitely impacted by how long you take to build the energy. So what do I mean by that? So let's say you have sex or you masturbate, and within 5 minutes, you're like, oh, that was great. I ejaculated. Okay, awesome. You do not have enough time in that short period to build up enough energy inside your body so that when you ejaculate, there's still an excess reservoir of energy. That takes time. So if you can learn to last longer and go 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, hour long, if you can do that, when you do have an ejaculation, yes, you will be releasing a certain amount of energy, but you've built a reservoir of energy that is so big that the ejaculation doesn't even come close to depleting you. And that's really the difference. So when people tell you, oh, you can ejaculate as many times as you want, it's not going to deplete you, only if you take the time to build up that reservoir of energy before you ejaculate. I know we've talked about this before many times. The Taoists actually have a chart based on age, right? About how many times they say you should ejaculate. And it starts with, how many times, in a week. And then it's like, how many times in a month? And then it's like, it gets to the point where as you get older, they're like, you should never ejaculate.
No, they don't. They never go to never.
No,
but
that's
rarely.
true. Yeah, but it's like twice a year. So
yeah, and they're very big on moving energy and circulating the energy. And this is really what that piece that you're talking about when we talk about optimizing your ejaculation, meaning that you got to learn that your body can be supercharged with sexual energy. And sexual energy is not just trapped in your genitals, where most people always experience everything, but you can learn to move the energy. The way that it usually goes is up the spine, down into the head, down to the front of the body, and into the belly. And once you start to do that, that's when you are able to, what we say, like move energy, to feel things more, and to not just have all the sensation in one spot, but then you can experience full body orgasms, full body sensations. And that's how you that's in a short description how you do it. There's a little bit more to it, of course, but if you have that idea and understanding, that's that. And then, of course, we can help you get there.
Yeah. So one of the big keys to learning how to control your ejaculation is learning how to move that energy through your body. And I can't tell you how many men I've talked to who tell me they want to last longer, and then they describe to me their experience. And I'm just like, you're literally doing everything wrong. And then I tried to explain to them, okay, here's what's happening. They go, no, that's not it. That's not it. Like the classic example that comes up all the time is this. Some guy will tell me, well, yeah, I watch a lot of porn and then I masturbate to it. And then, I ejaculate pretty quickly. And, I don't know, like, I just feel like the energy just builds up so much that I can't contain it. Like I try to, but it's just too overwhelming. And then I ejaculate, right? That's what I hear from a lot of men. So I go, okay, well, what sounds like is happening is you are building up energy in your lower chakras, first and second. That's great, but it's stuck there. It's literally stuck there. It doesn't go anywhere else throughout the body. And as it grows, if you're not moving it through, giving it someplace else to go, then it has to explode out somewhere. So then, of course, I say, okay, well, here's what's going on. And then we start digging into what could possibly be blocking that energy from moving, right? And, depending on which, I'm going to get a little bit esoteric here if you're not familiar with the concept of chakras, the first and second chakras being your sex centers, depending on which system you follow. But anyway, the third one that comes after that is your solar plexus, which is your power, your confidence, your who you are, your self-worth, all that kind of stuff, right? Almost every single time I have a conversation with a guy who tells me the energy just builds up and then he just explodes, there's always some sort of self-worth, confidence, something or other that's blocking in that solar plexus chakra. So you don't have to care about chakras. You don't have to know anything about it, but it's just an example of something that we see often. So then we have to start digging into, okay, what's going on in your life? Where do you not feel, strong, confident, capable, and then there's just layer after layer of stuff that can get in the way there.
It's not something that gets accomplished in one day or in 1 week. And same when you start to change how you approach your ejaculation. We hope that today's show was inspiring for you to start to see that there's more to your sexuality than the regular just get aroused and a little friction and the ejaculation. That once you understand that ejaculation is not the end goal and you want to focus more on increasing the energy in your body, increasing your life force, moving it so that you can start to use sex to feel better about yourself and in your body, it transforms then how you do sex also. And think of it that your body is like a battery. And so instead of depleting yourself through your sexuality and ejaculating without giving it any thoughts, you can learn to choose when and if and how, and use that energy to become more strong, to be uplifted, to recharge that battery. And that is a different type of sex. And that's something that's so much more interesting, especially as you've been in a relationship for longer, because then it changes how you do sex. It makes sex so much more interesting, so much more appealing for a woman when she doesn't have to herself have an orgasm. She doesn't have to make you come. You guys can focus on being together and the quality of the energy that's being exchanged.
Yeah. And when you can take her long enough through the lovemaking experience for her to finally be able to relax, access her own orgasm, we're talking 30, 40 minutes, maybe an hour before she can really get there. And if you can't hang in there that long, that's a problem. So, if by now, at this point in the show, you're still sitting there going, but why would you want to do that? Then you absolutely need to rewind, listen to this again, and then probably reach out to one of us or both of us because you need help. You really do. If we haven't made it abundantly clear why this is so important to your sex life, I'm not sure what else to say at this point.
And if we've inspired you, we suggest and dare you to go for it for a little bit. Try next time that you are active sexually to not come, and see how you feel and go from there.
Yeah. And if you need help, of course, you can reach out to us. You can also check out our Power Mastery programs, our Master Your Ejaculation program, and our Sexual Mastery programs. Both focus on this. There's great information in there. I'm telling you, it will transform your sex life and therefore transform the rest of your life as well.
There you have it, dear listeners. Thank you so much for listening to today. This is all the time we've got, and we will see you next week.
We hope you liked this episode of the Love Lab podcast. If you enjoy this show, subscribe, leave us a review, and share it with your friends.
And for more free, exclusive content, join us in the Passion Vault at CelineRemy.com/vault. That's CelineRemy.com/vault.
Thanks for listening.
And remember, you're amazing.